Hello, how is everyone today? How are you guys doing? Welcome back to our Vegas Aces live stream. My name is Heather Ferris, and today we are doing an AMA with our special guest, Mike Shackelford from the Wizard of Odds.
Hi, everyone. Nice to be back.
So that means that I want you guys to ask us anything. Ask us about table games, about gambling, the gaming industry, casinos, Burning Man, anything you want to ask us, go ahead and ask us. And we will read it in the comments. And also, we would also like you to join us for our next live stream at 3 p.m. So head over to Mike Shackelford's channel for the live stream, which will be about...
It's going to be an Ask Me Anything, but unlike previous shows, I'm going to talk more about things that happened with me in the last week.
Okay.
So please join me at 3 o'clock over at my channel, The Odds Must Be Crazy.
Right, so The Odds Must Be Crazy. And we really hope we get to see you over there.
Yep, please come.
Also, too, if you guys haven't, subscribe to his channel and go to his website, wizardofodds.com. If you go over there, you'll find in-depth analysis and articles on all sorts of table games that are out there. Pretty much you can find any table game you're looking for. And also, if you go down to the footer, they can find all of your social media links, like Facebook and Twitter, right?
You're absolutely right. Thanks for the nice plug.
Awesome. So please go. Please follow him. He has a lot of great posts, a lot of great content. And, ask us anything. So... before we continue, is there anything else you would like to promote to everyone? Anything new, anything different?
I'm going to talk about this on my live stream, so I'm going to keep this brief. But a movie just came out called Inside the Edge, which is a documentary about card counting. And it features a lot of blackjack experts, including myself. Mm-hmm. And it also follows around a very good card counter as he takes an RV and plays blackjack all over the country and follows his ups and downs and experiences. So it's really well done. There's no actors. It's all, real people. And not that actors aren't real people, but it's everyone playing themselves. And features a lot of big names in the gambling world, including James Grosjean. So okay. I'm going to talk about it more on my live stream, so I'll keep it fresh there.
Awesome.
But yeah, that's something new in my life. Cool. I just found out that it just came out and just watched it. Started last night, finished this morning.
Oh, that's so cool. Right on. So again, that's 3 p.m. at The Odds Must Be Crazy.
Yep, please join me.
So let's see what you guys are saying in the chats real quick. Awesome, lots of people in here. Hey Joe, hey James, hey Millet, hey Alan, hey Nathan, how you guys doing? Good to see ya.
Nathan, you wouldn't be the Nathan, Karen Nathan, are you?
No, Nathan Adams.
Okay.
He's one of mine.
All right. Okay.
So, so if you guys have any questions, go ahead and put them in the comments. Now's the time to ask. We also have Travesty on Twitch. Hey, Travesty, good to see you.
Hi, Miplet. Miplet is one of my best fans.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
How long has he been following you? 10 years?
I'll let Miplet answer, but he has been coming to Wizard of Vegas meetings for years and years.
Oh,
and
so I met him then.
He is the nicest guy.
Right
I'm sure
on.
you did meet him.
I probably did.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and he's always helping me with my math. And
oh, that's cool.
Great guy.
It's like sometimes we just get like really great fans or followers. I don't know what you guys want to, call yourselves. I call them aces. But they just really make it worth it.
Yeah, so. I kind of believe in what some people might call karma, that mm-hmm. good people tend to attract good people into their lives, and likewise the opposite. So, yeah. That
sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
So while we're waiting for everyone to get their questions in and everything, I just have to go over a couple of corrections from last week's live stream. We did Pai Gow Poker on last week's live stream, and we had a couple corrections. So we had a few exception hands, and one of them was, now how would you play this? You have 4 aces, a joker, and a pair of kings. How would you play that?
4 aces,
a joker, and a pair of kings.
I know that this is a silly line mentioned in the House Way. I would play a full house. No, I would play, because the aces can't even, if you put the kings in the low, then they can't be beaten because you have all the aces. So I would play a 5 of a kind and a king in the low.
Very right. Yep, very correct. That's absolutely
But we
correct.
didn't say otherwise, did we?
I did.
You did?
I said otherwise. So what I said last week was you would put the pair of aces in the top and then the full house at the bottom. But that's not correct. You would do the kings on top. This is the correct way to do it. It's an exception hand. You would put the pair of kings on top and all the aces on bottom because, like he said, you have all the aces. You're not going to have anything higher than that. So that's why you put the kings on top and the aces on the bottom.
That is quite the perfectionist who noticed that. And as long as we're on this topic, I have the house ways for like a dozen different casinos on my site, and they all list this as an exception of having 5 aces and a pair. Normally you would play a pair of aces in the low hand, with the exception of 5 aces and 2 kings.
Okay.
So, but I thought this is such an unusual situation, and you're probably going to win it either way. So I know I calculated this once, but then I figured that bothering to add this to an exception might make the whole casino industry an extra 1 penny in profit a year. Meanwhile, they're having to annoy every single Pai Gow poker deal with memorizing another rule. So it's completely ridiculous.
Well, I really like that rant a lot, especially from a dealer's point of view.
Thank you, and thank you.
You're welcome.
And what's with the rule about the joker only counting as an ace or completing a straight or a flush? And what's with the rule about the ace low straight being the second highest? I can't stand that rule. So stupid.
So wait, first of all, do you think the joker should be just a wild card?
Yes.
Okay, so it should be everything. Like anything that could be, you could just have it be anything.
Yes, and that's how they do it in California.
Really?
And I know
They do
everyone.
it in California?
Yes, that's how they deal it in California. But yes, I know everyone is used to it the way it is now. But it just goes to show that Pai Gow poker with these stupid rules was really, I mean, the general idea of the game is fine, but they just threw some stupid rules in there, in my opinion.
So why do you think they did that? Because personally, when you're trying to create a game or invent a game, you want to make it as easy and as simple as possible.
You do.
So why would they add rules that would just make things more complicated or, say, complex?
Because the guy who created Pai Gow poker just didn't know much about creating a casino game. And in his defense, he was like the first one to bring absolutely new product to the casino. So I give him a lot of credit for trying. And there was no one else in front of him, so he can be forgiven of some mistakes. But to answer your other question, the reason I think that the joker is only semi-wild is that Pai Gow poker is basically a variant of Pai Gow tiles. And in Pai Gow tiles, the Gi and the June tiles are semi-wild, and they can only count as 3 or 6. So I would think he was trying to bring that element over into Pai Gow poker.
Okay, so instead of a completely, totally wild card, you have a semi-wild card.
Yeah, or a tile.
Or a tile.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Very cool. We have one more correction from last week, too. It was another, I believe, exception hand. And that was, okay, so a straight with a 10-4 is the house way everywhere. The pair should be, oh, that's what it is. The pair should be the 10 or higher, giving up the straight. Okay, so that's what it was. We had a 10-4 with a straight, and then we also had a pair of 10s. So basically I played it wrong, and the way you're supposed to play it is a straight with a 10-4 and the house way, and the pair should be 10s or higher in order to give up the straight.
I did not know that.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure we got those corrections in there and everything. So if you guys ever notice anything wrong, if we say anything wrong, anything like that, please let us know, and we will just add it to the corrections for the next live stream.
You're absolutely right. And that's one of the good things about having a medium like this, like a website, instead of a book, is, you know, you have the whole world to correct you. And if they do, you just correct it and everything is good. Whereas a book, you know, that is out there with your mistakes forever.
That is very true. That's a very good point. And now I'm going to be thinking about that every single time I go and I write my book. I'm going to be like, I'm going to triple check this. I'm going to quadruple check this.
Well, I'm happy to proofread it too.
Awesome. I would love that, actually. I would really, really love that.
Thanks.
So let's see what people are saying in the comments real quick. Again, if you guys have any questions for Mike Shackelford, please let us know. And let's see. Yeah. What is the worst case of cheating you have ever been witness to? And that is by Supernatural. Hey, Gino.
I'll let you take that one. I'm trying to think of any cheating case.
The worst. Well, we've had a lot of. I shouldn't say we. I've had a lot of cheating cases when I was a dealer, and there was a lot. There was a whole range. So we had, say, counterfeit money on the table. We had pinchers, pass posters. One time, one of our floormen, a boxman on craps, he was working with one of his, what was it? It was a roommate. Him and his roommate were working together. And so the floorman would go on the craps table and sit on craps, and the roommate would come and bring the counterfeit money on there. And he'd look at it real quick and then drop it and give him the money, and he'd play one or two hands and then color up in the cage. So they got away with like a lot of money. I think it was close to almost 500,000, I believe it was. And what was happening was the casino, they kept finding all this counterfeit money in the same drop box from the same table over and over and over again. So they decided to watch him and put the cameras on him, and they saw him doing that. And instead of saying anything, they called the police and waited for him to be on the table, and then had the police come over and then handcuff him while he was on the table and then walk him out. So that's one example. I have a lot, like I said. There's another one where I believe I told you this. The dealer was basically stealing from the toke pool from the other dealers and made almost $1 million after 10 years of doing this, and then was finally caught. The only thing that happened to him was he was blacklisted from Las Vegas. He didn't go to jail. And the reason why was because I was told that the reason why was because you can't get 300 dealers to press charges on one person, and it's not the casino's money, it's the dealer's money, and that's why nothing ever happened. So
I would have liked to have seen him go to jail.
Yeah, I saw him running. I was on a table and I saw him running through the casino, and he threw something in the trash can and ran away, and then they went and looked in the trash can and he had thrown like all these black chips in there. So yeah,
in lots of the movies, people will like throw chips just on the floor, and to create a distraction so they can escape.
Yep, you have distractions too. And it's not just throwing chips or, say, throwing money, but then you have like naked people, and that's a huge distraction. So yeah, there are a lot of ways to cheat. I don't know if there's like the best. I guess the best way to cheat is the way we don't know about it because people are still doing it and getting away with it. So
yeah, I could talk about this topic quite a while, but I certainly have been involved in many cases of internet casino cheating. Internet casinos and games like Blackjack and video poker can easily cheat if they wanted to. It just changed. All they need to do is change some lines of code, and hopefully someone like me will catch them. But there are numerous instances of that documented on the online casino blacklist on my website. And in terms of cheating stories I actually know of, there's a guy named Ron Harris who was behind two really big ones. In one of them, so he worked for GLI, which stands for not GLI, the Nevada Gaming Control Board.
Okay.
And he tested electronic games and the code and everything. And one thing he did was on some particular slot machine, I think it was, maybe it was Keno, he inserted his own code that said, okay, if I make a bet of 3 and then 1 and then 2 and then 4 and then 5 and then 1 and then, some long sequence, that it will trigger the jackpot the very next bet. And so he put that code in there, and then once the game was out on the floor, he basically gave himself a jackpot.
Okay.
And a very big one, too.
Wow.
And then after I don't know. I know he got caught, but I don't know all the details of that. But then later, a conspirator of his found out that a Keno game was an electronic Keno game was going into Atlantic City that had an electronic ball draw. And he knew what the very first ball draw would be, because the way random number generators work is, unless you tell it otherwise, the first one is always the same. So he knew exactly what the first draw would be. So he had his Confederates go down there and play the very first game, the numbers he knew would come up, and of course they won. And then when the casino they asked for ID of the winner, and he refused to provide it. And then he said, well, it's in my room. And they ask, well, can we follow you up to your room to get it? And so they go up there, and then they see Ron Harris right there in the room.
No!
You know. So that brought that whole house of cards down.
Oops.
Oops. Yeah.
Didn't think that all the way through.
Yeah.
Yeah. So can I ask, when people go into internet casinos, and you said that they change a line of code, so what, are they using like C+, or are they getting into the code and then changing it from there, or? No,
it's the actual software developers that do it. It's not the players.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes more sense then.
Yeah.
Cool.
So in that case, it's cheating by the casino.
Well, it's sort of the same as the casino, because casinos have to watch out for their floor, for their dealers, for their employees as well, and cheating from employees is just as big as cheating from, say, players.
Yeah.
So. Yeah,
and I could talk about this all day long, but there are countless examples of casinos backrooming advantage players that broke no law and seizing their chips and doing other stuff. So there are good and bad people on both sides of the table.
Yeah. Do you think, do you have any experience with the casinos and them throwing people out?
I know lots of people who have been trespassed from casinos for advantage play.
Now, when casinos normally throw people out, they don't have to give them a reason, right? They just throw them out?
That's right. They don't have to. The way most casinos are, shall we describe legally, including in Nevada, is like private clubs. And much like you could throw someone out of your home without giving a reason, so can they, as long as it's not for discriminatory reasons.
Well, let's say, for example, one of the people who are in charge, if they don't like you, they don't have to have a reason.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, they just, okay, get them out of here.
Yeah, I mean, they might think your hat is ugly and kick you out for that reason without telling you the reason.
Yep, and then you can't come back in. And that's something that I think a lot of people, they don't understand, and that's the most offensive thing when they get kicked out. They're like, why am I being kicked out? And the casino or the security are like, we don't have to tell you.
To be honest, I think in most cases they know why.
Yeah.
And if they ask that, they're just plain stupid.
Okay. Fair enough.
But in the movie I just mentioned, Inside the Edge, they carry around a hidden camera, and there are numerous scenes where the character doing all this playing is getting kicked out in various levels of politeness, from being polite to being illegally detained in the back room.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's pretty interesting.
Yep.
And again, 3 p.m. Shackelford's channel.
Thanks, Heather. Yep, I'll tell you more about that movie on my show.
So we have another question. The question is from Alan, and Alan asks, I have heard that casinos are using less dealers for games. I hope in Las Vegas they keep the dealers because I enjoy the interaction when playing the games. Is this true?
I think we'll both answer yes to that one. I mean, you can see it in any casino. There is very gradually less and less square footage devoted to live table games.
Yeah.
And a lot of the space is being replaced by electronic table games that have a great big video monitor of a dealer, or not, like craps and roulette games, may have an actual wheel and dice, but it's all electronic. And the casinos love that because there's no labor costs.
But are they actually bringing people in? Do you ever see people sitting on those tables playing?
Sure.
You do?
Yeah. I mean, I know lots of people who love bubble craps.
Well, yeah, bubble craps. But bubble craps, like I'm talking about the Blackjack one where you have the Blackjack dealer. Because the bubble craps, you don't have a dealer, you don't have anything. It's like a slot machine, basically, but a fun one. But with the blackjack dealer, where you're staying on a table and you have that screen in the blackjack dealer, I've heard people actually say they don't like that they would rather sit on a normal blackjack game.
Oh, sure. I mean, lots of people would, but a lot of people are not comfortable with the limits at a live table, which can be, as high as a $25 minimum, whereas those games, the limits are probably $1.
Yeah.
So, and a lot of people are intimidated by a live game, so I think that, I think that they are doing pretty well for casinos, and you see a lot more of them even in Macau.
Okay.
And I think we're only going to see more and more of the electronic table games in the future.
Okay, cool.
Well,
Okay.
Personally, I love the live table games, but I have respect for the free market, so whatever happens, happens.
I agree with you. I find it much more enjoyable having a real live dealer who I could talk with and actually interact with. And, it's not always the same. You don't always have the same look and the same smile and the same sayings. Okay, wait, maybe with some dealers you do. I take it back. No, you do have that with some dealers.
Yeah, I think way in the future, maybe not so way, we'll see robots dealing the games.
That would be interesting.
Yep.
Ooh. Okay, so I want Iron Man to be dealing my game.
I want Wonder Woman dealing
Yes!
mine.
Wouldn't that be so cool?
Yes.
Okay, we figured out the new party pet.
But if Iron Man were dealing the game, he'd be making all these sly insults and talking above my head. And
It would be like going to that restaurant, Dick's or whatever, at the Excalibur, where they sit there and they make fun of you and they put you down, and that's the whole point of it.
I have never been there.
You've
Well,
never
now
been
that
there?
I know this, I'm going to have to go there.
Yep. It's like the whole point of it is the servers are rude to you and they put you down. But I think you could do the same thing with the servers. So it's just...
Do they warn you? Because I've seen that place many times.
I don't know. I don't know if they warn you. It's just from what people told me.
Oh.
So I'm not sure. If you guys have been there, let me know if they've warned you beforehand.
Yeah, I'd be interested to know.
Yeah, and also what you think about it too. I think it's Dick's or it's Eat Dick's or it's something like that.
I don't think it's Eat Dicks.
It would be hilarious if it was.
No.
I'm trademarking that. That's my new restaurant name. That's going to be a hot dog place.
I don't know what to say about that. But no, I think the one at the Excalibur is called Dick's Last Resort.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah.
I like my version better.
So do I.
Okay, so let's see what you guys are saying in here. We have more questions. Let's see. Alan, yes, I did get your Dean Martin song. I just have not been able to reply to your email just yet. Vince, many table games here in Canada have one live dealer connected to a school of machines. That's true.
Yeah.
They do have that. Same
Yep.
here. And then
Yep.
it's like, it could be roulette, it could be like baccarat. There's a lot of different versions of that. And what
Yep.
is it? Like you have 20 or 30 seats and everything?
Yeah, it's
and
called stadium gaming.
That's cool. Are they popular?
I'm seeing more and more of it.
Yeah.
It's super popular in Macau.
Oh, okay.
But I'm seeing more and more of it here in Vegas, slowly.
Yeah, I've seen quite a few
Yeah.
of those.
Yep.
Cool. Okay, so let's see what else you guys are saying. Let's see. Vince also asks, have you seen the new craps table all digital and still have real dice with real dealers? So a digital craps table with real dice and real dealers.
Then what would be digital about it?
That's a good point. I guess he's saying the layout.
Oh,
I've seen digital layouts.
Yes.
Because at G2E they have one,
Yes.
it's like one table and you could do like 40 or 50
Yeah,
games.
no, I did see that somewhere. Was it at the Cromwell?
Oh, I don't remember.
No, now that you mention it, I do recall seeing one where I think there were no chips but little panels where you put in your bet
Okay.
and you actually rolled dice, and there was probably just one dealer.
Oh, okay. That would make more sense because why would you need 3 dealers for
Yeah.
that? Okay.
Yeah. That logically that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and then so basically all you have is the final payout then, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty
And,
interesting.
it sure would speed up the game, and there would be less disputes and cheating
Yes,
and
exactly.
whatnot.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see what else people are saying. Let's see here. Well, I got a question for you. So, my question is, you have basically been interviewed 1,000 times throughout the years, right? And I bet that you get the same questions over and over and over again, right?
Sometimes yes, sometimes no. I did a really good interview just yesterday by a show called Vegas After Dark.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Yeah,
Cool.
that he asked some really good probing questions.
What were some of the questions?
He talked a lot about my work at Social Security and my educational background and the baby names list and so a lot of personal stuff. And then he went through a lot of the games, but he asked like up-to-date questions about trends in new games and things like that. But
cool.
Other ones are just the same old questions like what is the best game to play and what's your favorite game and yeah, I'm just sick of those easy ones.
So tell me, if you had a choice, any question in the world, what do you think the best question would be, like interview question would be to ask yourself?
I don't have a good one off the top of my head.
No? Can I ask one?
Sure.
Okay. So could you tell us a little bit more? You worked at the Venetian for a while, right?
Yep.
And could you tell us a little bit more about that job? Like, what did you do? Were you on the casino floor? Did you like it?
It's funny you ask this because I was just complaining to somebody about my banishment from the Blackjack ball, and because I worked for the Venetian, and they said that they would accept a letter of, how shall I put it, a request for reconsideration of my banishment.
Really?
So I just wrote that yesterday, and I turned it in, and as I stated in this letter, here's the Venetian story. So this is in 2012. The director of slots approached me out of the blue and said, Mike, I love your stuff, love your site. Would you ever consider working for the Venetian? And I said, if the price were right and it was on a part-time basis, I would consider it. And after a little bit of back and forth, they came up with a very generous offer, including benefits for part-time work. And it was difficult to say no to, so I said yes to it. But I wasn't placed under the guy who really liked me.
Okay.
Instead, I was placed in a department called Global Gaming, and the person directly above me, frankly, just didn't like me and he didn't want me. And he didn't know what to do with me. But at least at first, the guy who runs the Marina Bay Sands did love me, and he had a lot of work for me to do about new games that he had thought of, and he wanted the math done. So that kept me busy for a while. But once that work was done, my direct boss, he really struggled with giving me stuff to do. And I'm sure he wanted to, but his whole department called Global Gaming, we basically did nothing. We had like 40 people that frankly did almost nothing. I mean, yes, we wrote some reports, but I think one person could have done that. And
so were you looking at new table games in that department, or were you supposed to be focusing on old or the table games that you already have?
So the purpose, the goal of the whole Global Gaming department was to suggest ways that the whole company, including Singapore and Macau, could be making more money, including looking things at an analytic way. So that sounds reasonable, but the problem was nobody listened to us. As I'm sure you know, not just in the casino business, but I think in any business, people are very territorial of their jobs. They don't want anyone else telling them how to do it. They don't want anyone else helping, and they don't want to help with anyone else's job. And this was exactly how it was at the Venetian. You could tell people, I think you could be making much more money if you did something this way. And I don't want to hear that. I don't want to change anything. And the culture there was that if anything got changed and it went well, you wouldn't get any credit. But if it went badly, you certainly would be blamed. And everyone told me, you absolutely want nothing to do with getting called in to see Sheldon Adelson. Ooh. They said absolutely nothing good could come out of that. So everyone was covering their ass and changing absolutely nothing. So there was basically nothing for me to do. I never got emails. I never got phone calls. And one day, 4 months later, just out of nowhere, they stabbed me in the back with a knife, said, "Your job no longer exists. I am going to follow you to your car to make sure you leave and get off the property."
Oh.
And it wasn't that I was 86, but they were very formal about following me to HR, making me sign forms, and throwing me out.
Wow.
So it was, and I could tell that my own boss felt badly about it, but he was just following procedure. So yes, so that is basically the Venetian story.
Okay.
And as I put in my letter to the Blackjack Ball, I never did anything there that would have adversely affected an advantage player. Mm-hmm. They never even asked me to.
So what kind of stuff would you say put in your report to try to make the casino better? Would it be, I'm assuming it's game and analytical stuff, so would it be like, oh, we should change this pay table from, say, instead of 30-for-1, it should be 31-for-1? Would it be similar things like that? Or say, for example, on the craps for the field, instead of doing 3-to-1 for the 12, you would pay 2-to-1 for the 12. Would it be that kind of stuff?
That's a good example. But here's an actual example, and although I signed a confidentiality agreement, I think this is so old it wouldn't be breaching it.
But just don't get in trouble.
Yeah. Okay, so this is 2012. Between the Venetian and the Palazzo, they had 4 Caribbean stud tables.
Okay.
I think in all the rest of Las Vegas there was 1. So they had 80% of them, and they never got played, or extremely little. It was very easy for me to do a SAS report and see the profitability of each game per dealer hour. And Caribbean stud was not only last, but it was last by far. And I said to everybody, these Caribbean stud tables are doing awful. Do we really need 4 of them? Mm-hmm. How about just 1 if we absolutely must have a table? But this was the response of everybody. I didn't hear that. So that was the kind of thing I did. I also encouraged them to increase the minimums on their table because the casino was always packed when it was busy. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, they were having plenty of blackjack tables at, say, $10 minimums at 3-to-2 odds, which frankly, a blackjack table at a place like the Venetian, you need to have at least a $50 player to break even, given the low house advantage and the cost of labor. And it's not that I was pushing 6-to-5 blackjack, I never did. I just thought that they could increase their table minimums and make a lot more money, as well as taking larger bets and things like that. I mean, the company was worth in the billions of dollars, and I thought that they were scared of taking big bets.
Well, that's one of the things that's actually a director's job, is to determine when to raise the minimums or maximums, mm-hmm. and doing so, and tell me if I'm wrong, but basically it all depends on their risk aversion. So if they have a higher risk aversion, they might raise the limits a little bit higher, mm-hmm. but if they have a low risk aversion, they'll keep it at like $5-10. Is that correct?
Okay, I don't think it had to do with risk. The order of the day there was have the tables full. And the overriding philosophy there was, this is a hotel with a casino, not a casino with a hotel. Sheldon Adelson said that. So they viewed the whole main casino floor as kind of an amenity, like a swimming pool for the hotel guests that wasn't expected to be the main money earner. Okay. So, and it's hard to argue with success. Maybe he was right. But the way I looked at it is, there are tons of low betting players in this casino that are not making us much money, and they are driving off high betting players that are probably going somewhere else to play because they can't find a seat here. So, yeah, I was always pushing them that this is one of the best properties in Vegas. Mm-hmm. Everyone should expect that, and we could be. Everyone is going to understand if we have high table limits, and if they don't like it, they can go to the Treasure Island and Casino Royale, and it shouldn't bother us because they're not very profitable to begin with. Well,
you see the same thing with, say, the Wynn or the Bellagio. With the Wynn or the Bellagio, you go there and it's minimum $25.
You're absolutely right, and I think they're right.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I would run a high-end casino.
Yeah. Cool.
So, there you go.
Very cool. And then I just want to go back real quick to one thing you said real fast. Before we were talking about the risk aversion and the minimum maximums, you were saying that they had 3 or 4 tables and it wasn't bringing in enough money. I just wanted to point out for the people who don't know this out there, the casinos, they only have a certain amount of space and they can only fit a certain amount of tables in that space. Mm-hmm. And those tables, each table brings in a certain amount of money. Mm-hmm. So if there's a table that isn't doing well, for example, like what we were talking about, the stud poker, or whatever it was called.
Caribbean stud.
Caribbean stud, thank you. Then what they would normally do is they would see that it's not bringing in a lot of money and they would say replace it with blackjack, something that does bring in a lot of money.
That's what they should do. And this is so old that I don't think anyone will care if I say that they did very well with Pai Gow poker. Their win per dealer hour was very high, did really well. And meanwhile, they only had, I think, 2 tables at the time. Mm-hmm. And again, I told everyone, look how great Pai Gow poker is doing and how few tables it has. Look how awful Caribbean stud is and how many tables we have. The response was always this. I didn't hear that. And by the way, it makes me feel a little better that I ran into people who worked in the global gaming department after my departure, and they said that I was the first casualty, and people in that department got either their job disappeared or they got transferred elsewhere one by one, and it didn't take too long for the whole department to vanish.
Okay.
And frankly, they were right. Again, that whole department did almost nothing.
Yeah. Okay. Well, shall we go and see what people are saying in the chat?
Yes.
Okay, let's see what you guys are saying in the chat here. We have a lot of people in the chat. If we missed your question, then please write it again. Otherwise, Boris has a question. Boris says, on an electronic blackjack game, is the computer program set up to use the same number of decks as a shoe, or would it be impossible for a card counter to create their advantage? Sorry, I screwed up on that.
That's a good question. To answer the first part, if you go to the rules and and scroll through it, mm-hmm. Somewhere it will say the number of decks, at least in my experience, and it's usually 8 because that's the most profitable for the casino. Now, as to card counting those, they don't tell you when they're shuffling. Some of them do it, I believe, after every hand. Other ones do it quietly and they don't tell you. So,
wouldn't it be similar to using like a continuous shuffle machine where as soon as the hand is done, it goes into the machine and the machine just...
I think that's how some of them do it, but I don't remember the details very well, but I know that there was one brand that dealt about halfway through the shoe and shuffled, but they didn't tell you when.
Okay.
And that one is if you could estimate when they were doing the shuffle, it was vulnerable to card counters. And furthermore, you could get away with anything because there was no live dealer watching you. And no one, I don't think, would expect it of an electronic game. So you could probably jump from the minimum to maximum with no heat whatsoever.
So then is that something that, say, advantage players or card counters would want to do, is use a game like that?
I don't want to blow any plays, but shall we say know something about this that I'm not allowed to say?
Gotcha. Okay, in that case, we'll be moving on. So, Chuck Schaefer says, what is the furthest distance you have gone on your unicycle?
That's a good one. On my 50th birthday, I challenged myself to ride 50 miles, which I did. In fact, I didn't know exactly how many miles I did at the time, but when I got back and checked my GPS, I rode 53.
Nice.
So yeah, I rode
Awesome.
53 miles in about 8 hours.
Wow, 8 hours. So did you go around the entire Las Vegas Valley? Where did you go?
No, I very carefully planned my route to try to stay off of streets as much as I could. So I started at the M, and at the time there was a really nice bike path leading all the way from the M to close to the 215.
Okay.
And so I rode that, but then I took a detour and basically did all these bike paths in the Henderson area and got all the way to near the the Railroad Pass Casino, and
Wow.
like I said, before I did it, I very carefully planned out my route to avoid cars as much as I could. But when I finally got back, it turned out that I rode 53 as opposed to the 50 I thought it would be.
So one quick question. Were you actually sitting there at a stoplight waiting to like cross the crosswalk and you just have to go back and forth to keep going as like, you know?
Yeah, that's called idling.
That's so cool.
Yeah, no, I took my huge 36-inch diameter unicycle, which, no, I can't idle on that. And so, yeah, if I came to an intersection, I just had to get off the thing and wait. Frankly, I needed some opportunities to rest anyway.
That makes sense. Yeah. Okay, let's see what else you guys are saying. Hey, Chrome. Oh, hey, Jay's on. Hey, Jay. Jay Shapiro.
Hi, Jay.
Good to see ya. Let's see. So Vince says, it sounds like the Venetian was using you for your brains. That's what Vince said.
That certainly weren't using me for my body or my looks.
Oh my God, I was not expecting that. Okay, I was not expecting that. So continuing, let's see what you guys are saying. So Jay says, table minimums are based on table utilization. There are a few factors involved in the pricing. Maybe we could discuss this on Monday. Yes, I'm going to be interviewing Jay on Monday about table game, being a table games director.
I would love to hear him address that and what goes into his calculus on setting minimums and maximums.
Cool. I think that's definitely a question we're going to have to ask.
Yeah, but am I allowed to say where he works?
No, not
Okay,
yet.
so I won't. But I know at his casino, they're always very friendly to low-limit players.
Yeah. I don't remember if we can say your casino or not, Jay, so I figured it's better to be safe than sorry. So, because I know we were talking about this earlier. Mm-hmm. So, okay, continuing. Let's see here. Oh, plus tables also have licensing fees that include some of the novelty games. That's very true. And then Vadix has a question for us. Mm-hmm. Vadix says, hi, Heather. Hi, Mike. Hey, Vadix.
Hi, Vadix, 99.
I plan to audition to be a casino dealer by the end of the year. Do either of you have any tips or preparations for any advice for me beforehand?
This is totally your area.
So I do. The biggest thing when you're going on an audition is it's... Going on an audition to be a casino dealer is somewhat similar to going on an audition to say to be an actor in a commercial or something like that. It's very stressful. You're under the gun. There's a lot of people watching you, a lot of lights on you, and you have to make sure you perform in a specific way. And because of that, there are a lot of dealers that they have stage fright. And they get really nervous, they get really anxious, their palms get sweaty, and all of a sudden they can't deal anymore. I experienced it the first time, just like other people. On one of my very first auditions, I went to go pick up an 8-deck cards, and the whole thing just went exploding everywhere. Behind the table, off the table, all over the people. They had drinks, there were cards and drinks. Needless to say, I didn't get that job.
Wish I was there.
I'm glad you weren't. I'm so glad no one remembers that except me, because that was the most embarrassing thing ever. So the thing that I recommend to people is when you're going on auditions, make a list. Make a list of casinos that you want to work at, 1 being the casino you want to work at the most, 10 being casino you want to work at the least, and then start your auditions with casino number 10 and slowly work your way up. So that way you get all of the nerves out of the way, you get, all of the mistakes out of the way, you get everything that's going to go wrong out of the way. So by the time you get to that, audition to the casino that you want to work at, mm-hmm. You know what you're doing, you're confident, you're feeling good, you've done this a million times, you've already made all the mistakes you're going to make, and you can just ace the thing.
Yeah, so I've known a lot of dealers, and it seems the story I hear from most of them is most people just have to start at the bottom, and it's not so much of getting a job, but climbing up the job ladder fast.
Yep.
And I mean, they have just some awful dealers at places like the El Cortez, Jerry's Nugget, and so I think they must be desperate for anyone. But to get to the good properties like the Wynn can take a while.
Yes.
And it might help if you have connections, but But wouldn't you say that being able to just deal a clean, fast game is probably the most important thing?
I would actually say the more games you know, the better. Because you could deal a nice, clean, fast game, but if you only know blackjack, you're not going to get hired anywhere. You know, you have to know multiple games. And if you have craps under your belt as well, then you're basically you're a very valuable dealer, and most casinos will want you for that. So, yeah.
Yep. So is it true that a lot of craps dealers only deal craps, that's like a special game?
It is, yes. So usually craps dealers usually stay on craps. They don't deal other games. It's very rare when you find a casino who will say take a craps dealer and put him on blackjack for one night. But on the same hand, it's also very difficult for, say, a blackjack dealer to go to craps and learn craps because of that reason. There's only a very few casinos who will let that happen.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool. Okay, back to the chat. Let's see what you guys are saying in here.
Jay told us Sunset Station.
Oh, good. Okay, cool. So we can say that. Awesome.
Yeah. So
I just didn't want to get anyone in trouble.
Yeah. Jay is great. If you ever play at the Sunset Station, say hi if you see him. Yeah,
awesome. Go check it out. Definitely check it out. It's a great property, a lot of good games, really, really fun, great people that work there. So, and if you want a job as a dealer, we'll help you get in there. Okay, so let's see what else. So Ruben says, could you talk about chemin de fer?
Oh boy. So chemin de fer is a variant of baccarat, much like Punto Blanco. And the only difference is in some of the procedures. If I remember correctly, in chemin de fer, it's player banked, where the turn to bank rotates around the table, and this is what they typically play in James Bond movies.
Right.
But I think in that movie, I think they actually have free will on taking a third card or not, but I could be wrong. I have never seen chemin de fer in this country.
Yeah, so it's definitely something you don't see in America, but that's what I remember too. The players are the one that decide the third card rule.
Yeah.
So instead of the dealer having to do the third card rule and we have to follow the rules no matter what, the player decides, oh, I'll draw a third card, or oh, I'm not going to draw a third card.
Yep.
Yeah. Very cool. So we got that one done. Let's see what else we got to do. Let's see here.
Oh, Miplet has a good one for me.
Miplet, where's Miplet? Oh, what is your favorite twist puzzle?
So, Miplet knows that I love all these kind of puzzles like the Rubik's Cube, but I can do all kinds of them, like the dodecahedron shape and
are
the
those the ones that are like all weird shaped and everything?
Yes, and I can do the ghost cube and
that's
and
cool.
I don't even remember the names of all of them anymore. But in my house I have like 50 of these puzzles. And
do you have like a bookshelf and they're just like on your bookshelf?
I keep most of them on this shelf underneath the living room TV, because like if there's a commercial or a boring show, I can just like grab one and do it at the same time.
Okay.
But and some other ones are in my office. But that's a good question. I definitely like the dodecahedron ones, which are called the Megaminx, and yeah, I'm going to say the Megaminx is my favorite.
Okay. And do you do that often, or are they on the same level as the Rubik's Cube where you're sort of waning on that?
I definitely went through a puzzling phase. Yeah, last year. So last year I went to, was it last year? Yeah. I went to Barcelona, and I noticed in Barcelona and Paris, not only did they have bookstores everywhere, which I was very impressed with. I think Vegas is probably down to like 2 bookstores.
Oh yeah, we have like no more bookstores.
Right, where there was one on practically every street corner in Paris. But not only that, but they had all these game shops that I bet you would love too. But these game shops that had a lot of the kind of games and action figures that you might like, but they also had tons of these puzzles. And I saw tons of them that I had never seen before. And at this time, I could do the Rubik's Cube, but that was it. So I I went to this one store by my hotel in Barcelona and got a whole bunch of them, and had so much time in my hotel room working with them that I went back there and got more, and then I went back and got more, and then I went back and got more. So this store must have loved me, because I come home with all these new puzzles, and some of them I solved while I was still in Europe, some not, and this sent me on a huge twisty puzzle phase, as Miplet called it. And I made a whole bunch of videos about how to solve them, but I kind of feel that I've climbed that mountain and have gotten a little bit bored with it. But nevertheless, I usually, when I travel somewhere, I bring one in case I have to stand in a line or something.
Do you do it while you're on the airplane then? While you're
Oh
flying?
yeah, that's a great thing to bring on an airplane.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice. Awesome.
Yep. So there you go.
Yay. Okay, so let's see what else we have. So Jim asks, can we trust machines with virtual blackjack dealers, or are they set to have a certain payback percentage, just like a slot machine?
Yes, you can trust them. There's a law in Nevada that any video representation of a card game or dice must play by the natural odds, where every card has the same probability of being drawn by all the cards that are left in the deck. So you absolutely can trust those, but I saw a video poker machine in Germany that was just very clearly cheating, because it was a Deuces Wild game with a jacks or better pay table. And I thought, this game must have like a 30% player advantage. And I was playing it and I was just getting killed. And so I got home and I wrote about this experience, and someone from Germany said, yeah, it's common knowledge those Novomatic games are gaffed to hit a certain return percentage. But no, here they follow by the natural odds.
Okay, sounds good. Quick question. Does that include, say, bubble craps? Would it do the same odds as craps?
Yes.
Okay. Cool.
So, I mean, there you can actually see the dice bouncing around. And yes, there's always a conspiracy on every thread that comes up about bubble craps that says that the way the machine shakes the dice, it can control the outcome to land on whatever players are not betting on. Total conspiracy theory. I absolutely think the game is fair.
I had that same conspiracy when I was a kid and I played Sorry, and I did the little pop, and I'm like, it's rigged. You could tell that.
You might have been right, because Sorry is just pop, it's just like hit the top once. Where in bubble craps, it shakes that thing around like crazy.
Okay, so it does shake, and okay, sounds good.
But on another topic, one of my many annoyances is people when they play a board game, that when they roll the dice, they just kind of let them drop out of their hand.
I've seen people do that.
Yes, and I think that they set the dice to how they want it, and I don't know exactly how they do that, but they just kind of drop the dice without shaking them in their hand, without like doing a good roll. That really annoys me.
Okay, sounds
So
good.
I'm very big on a nice, clean, random outcome.
Sounds good. So you want them to like really roll the
Yes,
dice.
but on the other hand, I don't need them falling on the floor and landing under the piano.
Yeah.
Just try to keep it on the board, but a good throw. And what I like to play games with is a dice shaker, like they do in Pai Gow Poker.
Give me an example.
Yes, here is an example, like how I hate it when people play, especially in Risk or Monopoly, is they pick up the dice and they roll like that.
Oh, okay.
Maybe even not like that.
Gotcha. Yep.
That's not enough. Here's a good way. You give it a good shake.
That's how you do
and
it.
like, you don't need to throw it across the room, but something like that.
That's cool.
Is that a good roll?
I think that's a good roll.
Thank you.
You're welcome. We had to see that. We all had to see that.
So thanks for letting me get that off my chest.
No problem. Anytime. Especially if it has to deal with board games. I will talk about board games all day long.
We love board games.
Yeah, board games are the best. They really are fun.
Yep.
We have to play board games more often. We have to. Have
Weren't we talking about some place downtown where you can?
Yeah. Yep. We need to have like a board game night one night.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Boy, I miss board games.
Right?
Yeah.
You don't get it too much anymore.
That's one great thing about being a kid is you have so much time to play board games.
Yeah.
But they don't appreciate what they got.
No, but it's the same thing as they don't go out and play outside anymore. You know, and I remember going outside and playing, and it was like the best. It was fun. You didn't have to call people. You would just like ride your bike to their house and show up. I'm here. How you doing?
Just say can Heather play?
Yeah, exactly. And then you go out and you kick the can or cul-de-sac baseball or Ghost in the Shell, or not Ghost in the Shell, Ghost in the Garden or something? Do like one of those fun games?
I was a master hide and seek player.
Hide and seek was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, hide and seek is a good.
I could outrun anyone.
Nice.
It wasn't so great with ball games, but I was pretty fast.
Were you good with tag then?
I didn't play a whole lot of tag, but I would have been good at it because I'm, if I may toot my own horn, I'm pretty fast.
Nice. Very cool. Yeah, that was fun.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, back to
All
the
right.
comments.
Okay, we don't have too much more time.
No,
so
we don't. Fireball Island. Yes, definitely Fireball Island. And Blackjack player, how late am I? Actually, we are just ending.
Yeah,
so,
you're a little late to the party.
Yeah,
but come over to my party.
Exactly. So let's do that. So that pretty much does it then for today's show. Thank you guys so much for watching us, and please join us to Mike Shackelford's channel for his live stream at 3 p.m. at The Odds Must Be Crazy. Again, if you haven't already, please go over and subscribe to his channel and check out his website. And am I forgetting anything? wizardofodds.com?
Yeah, no, thanks for the plug. We're going to be right back on my channel, The Odds Must Be Crazy, and continuing the fun.
Yep, it's going to be great. Whew.
All right, thanks, audience. Thanks, Heather.
Thank you, I appreciate
You're welcome.
it. Thank you,
Okay,
guys.
bye.
See you next time.